Lawyers of Reddit, is there a time where you said duck it, you are on your own to a client? I see a few people saying you can only withdraw for cause. But in my jurisdiction you are not required to represent someone. If you don't want to, you can fire a client for any reason. So long as you give them notice, in writing, and not within a month or so of trial. Timeline will depend on how complex the case is, as that would be unfairly prejudicial. Officially we call it a breakdown in the solicitor-client relationship, but that usually translates to my client arranging a chat, and I am done with this shit. It's not uncommon in my area of practice. Additionally, you can dump a client before you agree to take their case. That's why a lot of lawyers have a free consultation to see if the case is right for them. Lawyers can and often do refuse to take cases for a myriad of reasons. Outside of their area of expertise, you would not want a tax lawyer handling your death penalty case, even if they legally could. Lack of desire to take the case full caseload, and not accepting new clients period, and more. I once had a potential client come in for a free consult in which she confessed she didn't have money and never had any intention of ever paying me. Thanked her for her time and got her out of the office. Next month and the judge's office is calling me to ask where I am. The same lady was on her third hearing and was asking for another continuance because I failed to appear again. Had to tell the judge I never accepted her as a client, never communicated any intention to her to do so, and had no notice of the hearing. She was dragging my reputation with the judge in order to escape hearings, and that's the first time I knew someone that went to jail for contempt of court. Man, you tried to dodge the bullet and it still grazed you. Not mine, but I wrote the Wikipedia article. Marvin Gabrian punched his attorney in the face in front of the jury during the trial. That lawyer asked the judge for permission to quit and was denied. Personally, I feel like the evidence against him was pretty cut and dry. Basically everyone he comes in contact with disappears mysteriously, and I do not have evidence of this, but I cannot imagine that lawyer really giving it his all after that. He later appealed the guilty verdict on the basis that him punching his attorney in the face in front of the jury could have prejudiced the jury against him. I do not understand the judge's decision. Surely he knew that TJE attorney would not be able to continue protecting the client in earnest after that. Potential issue with changing attorneys midway through a trial would mean a lengthy delay while the new lawyer gets up to speed on all the proceedings. I'm sure the judge just wanted to get it all done and dusted as soon as possible. I get that I've not been in that situation, but I'm a lawyer myself. But usually the requirements of the procedure need to be balanced with the defendant's right to be, well, defended. This decision very much seems like favoring one a bit too much at the expense of the other. The person above, though, argued that maybe the judge felt that the change in representation would not matter if the punching happened at the very end of the process. Then yeah, I could see that. Yes, when they told me I got a different attorney, nothing to do about that, but provide a copy of their file and terminate the representation. Maybe a notice to the court depending on circumstances. Upon one occasion I remember thinking, oh thank God I get to be done with this ducker. We had a client do that, but they still had not paid our bill, so we exercised our lien over the file. Before that happened, the other side made very significant disclosure to us, so the new lawyer asked them to make it again, because we would not hand over the file until we were paid. The lawyer on the other side called us up and told me quite explicitly to make sure we hold on to our file and do not hand anything over until our bill was paid, because they sure as hell were not going to spend all that time and effort to make the disclosure again. Not saying it is, but that sound illegal. Then again, only the cheapskate is getting raw dogged here by their own fault. It is a solicitor's lien. It has been a thing for centuries. Not a lawyer, but managed a law firm. Court-appointed client appeared for a shoplifting case, wearing the coat that she stole. Needless to say, her case was not dismissed. They caught them stealing yet let them keep the coat. Weird. 1. Get identified. 2. She gets found on the street by police and arrested while walking chilling another shoplifting offense, and she is not wearing the coat. 3. Police do not know her home address. She refuses to give it. She has multiple home addresses and the one that gets searched is not where the coat is. 4. She gets released after charge instead of remanded. 5. She pleads not guilty and gets a hearing in 157,351,725,177 years. 6. She wears the coat to court. Happens all the time. Your Honor, I'd like to enter a new item of evidence. She is currently wearing the coat she stole. It still has tags. So one time I was appointed to represent a guy who was having a trial for adjudication in a dependency case. He wasn't at fault for the removal of his children and was ducking pissed off that he had to be party to the case. It's the law. So he yelled at me for several weeks about this and I simply said I can to shit about it man, it's the law. So he threatens to fire me and I say go for it. He rescinds. Repeat. This happens a few times. So we get to court and the judge comes in and says any issues to go over before we start. My guy stands up and says I want to fire my lawyer because he's not gonna help me. The judge looks at me and asks if that is true and I said no. Mr. X is angry that he is a party to this case because millisecond X is the offender. He doesn't believe me when I say that it is simply the law. Judge asks him and he agrees and says he doesn't think he can trust me to represent his interests. So the judge lets me go. I close my folio and hand him the file. Ask to be withdrawn. Granted. I turn and head for the door. As I am walking out the judge says, okay Mr. X, who is your first witness? X gets mad and yells about needing an attorney, to which the judge replies you allowed appointed counsel and you fired him. We still going forward. Who is the first witness? I couldn't see it, but I know that I was smiling in 5D. I enjoyed this one quite a bit. What is really special is that 2 or 3 years later, while representing another hapless soul in a case to terminate her rights and waiting for a judge to enter to begin her trial, I spotted this guy in the audience waving at my client. Turns out he had befriended her and fed her the same strategy, which she then applied to her case and which turned out exactly the same. She then came to me a week later in my office complaining about me just allowing her to make that mistake. The audacity of some people is astonishing, and I just told her to get out because I wasn't her lawyer anymore. That's some advanced stupidity right there. I had a client come to me to do his will. He insisted it would be simple because he never married or had kids. I met with him as usual and went through everything he needed in his will, and I explained my hourly rate and how long a will usually took to draft and sign. He came back in a few weeks, signed his will, happily paid his bill and left. I should point out 2 things at this point. 1, this guy was very rich, and 2, he could not name a single friend who he trusted to be a backup executor. As soon as he got home he immediately wrote a long ranting email to my boss. He claimed he had been massively overcharged for his will. He said he had only spent half an hour in my office, so he should only have to pay for half an hour and that there was no reason he should be paying for my time. He would go to the law society, etc., etc. My boss called him and told him to bring in all of his will and power of attorney documents and he would issue him a refund. The conversation went like this. Boss, I do not have time to deal with petty garbage like this. This is a document stating that you are willingly destroying your will and powers. Sign it and I will give you this check for all your fees back. Client, this is not a petty issue to me. Boss, this is a petty issue to everybody. Client, I will tell all my friends and family never to work with you. Boss, good. I do not want to work with your friends. I do not want to work with your family. I do not want to work with anyone who cares what you think of me. Luckily, I do not think that will be a problem. Go find another lawyer. So the guy signed the document and my boss dragged the shredder out into the middle of the lobby and shredded all of his documents in front of him and then went back to his office. The guy slunk out and never contacted us again. What was his goal? Free will or just being an ashat? My bet is free will. Some of the worst penny pinchers are the ones with money. He should have studied philosophy in college. He would have known we all have free will. I generally only handle serious injury and wrongful death cases. I have told dozens of clients to pack their bags once I determine they lied to me about what happened. Most of these liars admitted it to me in a way which indicated they thought the entire process was a game of be the best liar they are gonna lie. So I'm gonna lie. You never, ever, no matter the weather, Ever want a serious injury client with a credibility problem? We regularly put 6 figures in expenses and time into these cases, and I'm not about to do that if we have a liar for a client. Keep in mind, I'm talking about lying about important facts, and not the "this is what I remember" when it turns out inconsistent with the physical evidence. I'm not talking about "I did not mention this yesterday because I was embarrassed." I'm not even talking about "I did not tell you I have been double filling my oxygen script, this was a decade ago." Cannot do that anymore because I knew it was wrong. Just lies about what happened. I'm not a lawyer, but I have spoken to a few solicitors. The last time was when I got wrongly accused of drunk driving, when I slept in the back of my car after a barbecue on a beach. I put the keys in the glove box and was asleep in the back. Cop knocked on my window and figured that there was no way I could have driven there before drinking. Met with my solicitor and he just said, "Look, everything you say in this office is confidential. You just need to tell me the truth." So I'm armed with all the facts. Even if you did drive to the beach 10 times over the limit, you can tell me. I just do not want to be put on the spot later on if some other evidence comes to light that shows you were. The problem is you can say that over and over, and a lot of people will still lie, whether a little or a lot. Oh, they definitely do. One of the guys in the legal department at work used to do personal injury stuff and told me about a time that he represented a guy who was suing a big chain DIY store claiming he slipped on some spilled liquid in one of the aisles and wrenched his back, and subsequently had trouble walking, trouble sleeping, trouble getting it up, etc. I believe he was suing for mid-6 figures. There was no CCTV cameras on that particular aisle, so the store had no way of disputing his claim. Guy swore blind to him that all his injuries and symptoms were genuine until the store's solicitors turned up a bunch of photos from the guy's wife's Facebook page of the two of them on a skiing holiday about a month after the fall supposedly happened. I believe the other side's solicitor said something along the lines of, "So do you want to get your guy to drop his case now, or shall we wait until it gets to court and we countersue for all our legal fees and your client making a false claim?" Buddy emailed his client with it to the photos saying essentially, "You need to give me an explanation for these, and for your sake it had better be a ducking good one." But the guy never responded. Case got tossed out before it ever got close to a courtroom. I had a custody case one time where I was representing the mother pro bono. The lawyer on the other side was representing father pro bono as well. And let me tell you about these two. Mother was in her early 20s and her income was from a part-time job at Walmart and government benefits. She never finished school and lived at her dad's house, who himself was not working and living off the government dime. She was missing half her teeth and her overall hygiene was horrendous. After meeting her, it blew my mind that someone would feel comfortable enough to have unprotected sex with her. Until I met father. He was also in his early 20s and didn't he finish school. He had a marked speech impediment. Mom told me he has some kind of mental health diagnosis with the word explosive in it, and described how violent he could be. He was certainly no looker. For income, he too was on government assistance, but his Facebook was replete get-rich-quick schemes which clearly never panned out. He was alleged to be selling marijuana as well to supplement his income. Well, dad has other kids with other women in other parts of the state, and he is way behind on child support payments. So he gets scheduled for a contempt hearing for failure to pay. He asks his pro bono custody lawyer about the contempt hearing, and the lawyer reminds him that he is only his custody lawyer and that he does not represent him in any other matters. So the day of the hearing comes, and Dad goes to court without a lawyer. It doesn't go well for him, so he decides to blast his custody lawyer on Facebook for screwing him over in his support case. He also decided to call his lawyer afterward to bitch him out, but the lawyer wasn't in the office, so he spoke to the lawyer's secretary. We were scheduled for a custody trial the next day. It had been on the books for months. I get a call from Dad's lawyer stating he is filing an emergency motion to withdraw and postpone the trial, and was seeking my concurrence on the motion. Apparently Dad threatened to kill his lawyer's secretary during his rant to her. We have an emergency hearing that afternoon with the judge, and Dad's attorney tells the judge what happened. I tell the judge I have absolutely no objection to his lawyer withdrawing. Motion granted. Trial rescheduled for 3 months later. I don't know what was said to Dad by his lawyer, but I hope it was duck you. You are on your own. PS 3 months later he show up for his rescheduled custody trial because he was again behind on child support. This time in another county, and they threw him in jail. I told the judge that SY dad wasn't there, and the judge wanted to reschedule the trial. I reminded the judge about what happened 3 months prior and the judge changed his mind. He dismissed the custody case which kept the kid with mom, which is what she wanted, but in his dismissal order, said dad had 30 days after he was released from jail to request a custody trial. Dad never did. Man. How to fix society. Vote for a pro-education agenda. I am a teacher. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe for more videos.